creating cosmos out of chaos. I was just really curious to know when you said you got the opportunity to sit under the tree that Buddha reached his enlightenment. Like, how was your experience to be able to be in that place and meditate in the exact same place?
Yeah, the the Bodhi tree is a magical space. It's really beautiful because not only is the tree itself just massive and ancient, and trees we see as these bringers of oxygen,
Mm-hmm.
but they also have a network of roots that goes far deeper than we can even know.
Mm-hmm.
And this tree has been there for over 500, maybe even along the lines of 1,000 years. And it was it was profound because the tree itself is like it was massive. Like, the trunk is huge, and then there's monks from all around the world who are there circumnavigating this tree and doing prayers, like full
Right.
pranams, which is hands raised up, and then they go on the ground and fully lay out. And you can just see how all of these different cultures from all around the world come to this tree for the same essence of being able to be in a space where someone reached enlightenment.
Right.
Wow.
Wow.
where you hear this great story of this wonderful man who renounced all of his wealth, renounced his wonder of living in a palace to be able to be someone who not only was able to let go of the worldly attachments, but was able to let go of the mind, the deep afflictions that we have in all of our desires.
Mm-hmm.
And to see how many people attain to reach the same path and to go on this same journey, and to really be in the space of that sense of deep devotion. Like, it's powerful, and I feel that's really what's important, is to go to these places, because I feel now more than ever, especially since COVID and all the travel bans and all of the restrictions that we've had, and the ability to travel, it's so important to realize why we're traveling. A lot of people, they just want to go to a place because it's pretty, or they saw an Instagram photo there, but it's like,
Yeah.
the real beauty, I feel, is really going on these spiritual pilgrimages where you have the opportunity to be immersed in culture, and also have the opportunity to learn more about the practices that are near and dear to your heart.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we have a sense of connection as to the culture that has brought this practice to the forefront of our own sense of awareness, then we can actually have a deeper connection with that practice.
That's so beautiful.
And it also, I find that it really deepens your connection, like you're saying, to the why you are practicing yoga. Why are we getting on the mat, right? I find that, like, especially in the West, it's become so popular, as we all know, and it's almost turned into more of a physical thing that we get on the mat to feel good, to practice. But then it's wonderful when you can go back to these places where it began. It opens your heart and mind to understand, like, there's so much more to the practice of yoga. It's not just the asana work. That's just one limb of the 8 limbs, right? It's interesting. Like, that's one of the big reasons why Mark and I began traveling so much, because there's just like this different self-growth that you can experience when you immerse yourself in these different cultures and these different religious practices or spiritual practices. It really, really, really
And the
expansive.
most valuable excursions, adventures, trips that we've been on have all been to places that have this deep spiritual resonance. And like, when we were in like Mount Kailash in Tibet, like, I felt it. Like, there's a feeling, like it's an energy that enters your body. And do you feel it, like, when you were at the Bodhi tree? Like, is there an actual, like, how does that feel? How did it feel to you to be there?
It felt incredible. We sat and we meditated, the whole group, under the Bodhi tree. We had a special time span of 4 hours to sit and meditate under the tree. And 4 hours went like that.
Wow.
It was like literally, like, it was like you literally tap into this space where so much devotion, so much bhakti, so much complete and utter absorption has happened in the space that it creates a vortex of energy. When you're in a collective conscious where everyone is truly attuned to the same frequency, and that space itself is the space where the Buddha sat to reach enlightenment. That's that space has some resonance to it.
Oh my God.
And I really did feel like immediately, like, I sat down, and, as a group, there was 16 of us all together, and immediately, like, just all the sounds, all of the outside world just completely just, I remember very vividly, because the only thing that had interrupted the meditation was there was an actual a monk who just barely just brushed up against my knee. And the reason being was that one of the leaves from the Bodhi tree had fallen, and it fell on my knee. And he was like giving me like a nudge to like show me that the leaf was there on my knee.
Wow.
And it's really interesting, because when you go to this tree, like, monks are literally like, as soon as a leaf falls, like, everyone opens their eyes and like they're like, where'd the leaf go? Like,
Wow.
because everyone's trying to collect these leaves. And this monkey, like, he let me know that the leaf had fallen on my knee, and I opened my eyes and I have this leaf, and I was like, oh my goodness, and I just started crying.
Wow.
And I can remember it was a really touching moment, just because it was like, like, it's these little things that just remind you that you're on the path, and
Yes,
it's like the littlest things that just give you these little reminders that, you're doing the work, and it's all good. Keep doing your thing, like, keep on the path, and stay true to what you do. And I feel that those are the moments that are just, confirming, and they're so heartfelt. They're the ones that, you can never really forget.
Right.
And so I still have that little Bodhi tree leaf to this day inside of my
wow.
journal.
That's amazing. And so what year was this in? Like, when did this
Yeah.
experience happen?
2016.
2016.
2016. Yeah.
And how did your journey continue after this incredible
What was the impact?
Experience?
I mean, that was my first international yoga retreat. So that was the first time that I went to actually bring people outside of the United States to lead a yoga retreat. And it was an absolutely incredible experience, being that the first one was in India. And from that point forward, I really just focused on creating even more depth in my own practice, so that I can become more potent in what I share. And ultimately, a lot has definitely changed since 2016. I've now had the opportunity of teaching all around the world, from, Summit Series to Lightning in a Bottle to Envision Festival. I was just at South by Southwest. I got to curate the whole Conscious Conversations area at South by Southwest.
Wow.
And I'm now a wellness consultant for Beverly Hills Four Seasons, and actually the whole Four Seasons brand, and Soul Community Planet as well, which is really beautiful. And so it's given me the opportunity to travel around the world, and to have the opportunity to share my passion, and to share it from a real space of embodiment. And I feel that it's so important for us as yogis to realize that it's not just the asana, it's not just the practice of, moving the body, but it's also the meditation. It's also the real deep sense of ahimsa that brings us to an awareness that we're all in this together. That there's a kula of yogis, there's a sangha, there's a community of us who are all doing our work and sharing our stories, and having the opportunity to uplift communities worldwide. And the more that we have the opportunity to do this, and to really connect to this essence, the more that we can truly make a positive impact on the world today. And I feel that the positive impact is needed now more than ever. And so it really, it just amplifies me to be continuously on the path of, sharing truly with my heart, and inspiring those who are going to take that inspiration and actually amplify it, and really use it as a means to propel themselves into empowerment.
Wow. Can you talk about Ahimsa a little bit? It's something Julie and I feel really passionate about. What does it mean to you and to your yoga practice?
Yes. Ahimsa for me personally is truly deciding to look at every aspect of my life with an eye of compassion. and to be someone who not only lives by the act of nonviolence, but also is someone who inspires others to live by this sense of mindful awareness as well. And I mean, you know, from everything that I eat, I've been plant-based and fully vegan since 2011. And, you know, that's now, I'm 33 years old. So that's like, yeah,
Wow.
that's a large portion of my life. So it's been wonderful to have the opportunity to inspire people in that way. But also not just in what we eat, but also in how we observe one another and how we even share words. And, you know, the words that we speak are words that are aligned with our heart, you know, that come from our heart into our throat to be able to speak the reality of kindness into this existence. And essentially, I feel that Ahimsa is really, it's a way of being. It's a way of truly deciding to view life with an eye of compassion.
Wow.
That's so beautifully said.
I honestly,
I think we see it in a very similar way as well. I mean, we've also been plant-based vegan for
since 2011.
Yeah,
I think,
actually the same
or
time
10,
as you,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But it's
That's amazing. That's amazing.
yeah. But it's interesting because it does open your mind to, like you said, the idea. It's not just about what you eat, right? It's about how you treat yourself. It's about how you treat others. It's about, like you're mentioning, the thoughts and the words that you choose to use to yourself and others as well, right? It's an embodiment of your life, and something that I think is so beautiful about you know, taking that yoga into that practice of off the mat. And like what I was saying earlier, it's more than just what you do on the mat. It's how can we live yoga in our everyday lives? And that's something I think we need to strive for.
Ahimsa is just tied to so many decisions that you can make in a day, like how you're going to react to situations, how you're going to treat yourself throughout the day in different like emotional and energetic states that you're in. And 3 times a day when you put food on your plate. Like what do all of these actions and decisions, how do they affect other people's experiences here on the planet? And so to us, and not just people, other beings' experiences on the planet.
All other sentient beings, yeah.
And because to us, it's like, we can't eliminate the ability to do zero harm, but we can mitigate our imperfection to the closest to perfection we can become. And Ahimsa is sort of like the idea of that perfection to me is something to know I will never reach, but I will do every day. I'll take a new decision and challenge myself to inch closer and closer and make mistakes along the way. You know, obviously nobody is perfect. And in the act of trying to eliminate violence or harm, I mean, we all have a bad day, and we all, you know, even being vegan, it's not perfect, but it's the best version of perfect I know right now. So I continue like with devotion to adopt it and to practice it and to talk about it. Because I think like it gets lost in a lot of like the minutia. I think especially when it comes to diet, like it's like fighting about, oh, well, an insect's this, or, you know, this kind of protein that, and I'm just like, you know what, to me, I feel fucking great. Ever since, like, I stopped eating meat when I was 17, like it was like 23 years ago. And I went vegan in my 20s, but it was very, you know, then we went vegan again 11 years ago. But ever since then, my life has just been a resonance of love and light. You know, and I've been, you know, I get to optimize myself and shine brighter. And if that's my path to do that, like no argument about what protein is better will ever stand in the way of that. And I wish other people could just understand that, like, sometimes it's just about, you know, when it's a very confusing topic with a lot of noise, sometimes you just have to do your best to make the call with your heart. And then see how that fits like a pair. Like how does that shirt feel? Well, it feels great because I chose with my heart. And I don't know. So it's beautiful. I think Ahimsa to us, it's like it's one of our guiding principles in everything we do. And so it's so beautiful to sit and to be able to just sort of to meet and to you know, chop it up around that and to see, like, you know, it's inspiring because, as we know, to see others living in light inspires you to shine bright yourself.
Exactly. And we can all inspire one another, right?
Yep.
Just through
I always say, live light, shine bright.
Yeah.
Live light, shine bright. And a great friend of mine actually says the best form of activism is attractivism.
So making
the thing that you wish to. Yeah, my great friend Nimai Delgado, he's actually a vegan bodybuilder. He's
Cool.
absolutely incredible.
Oh.
Yeah, you got to check him out. He's next level. But
cool.
long story short, like I think that it's so apparent nowadays that you can't just try and sway people by knowledge, because I feel that with these devices that we have in our hand, there's always going to be an opposing bias towards something or another, or there's always going to be another argument that someone can pull up, and it's just, there's no use. So really the best way to help people to actually choose a different path is to allow them to be empowered by the attractivism of it. It's like, make it attractive to be plant-based, make it attractive to be an incredible yogi, make it attractive to be someone who's living a life on purpose. Because then when it's like easy to see and people are like, wow, like that person is happy, they're making a positive impact on the world, and they're doing it in a way that is not only beautiful, but it actually is making me feel like, wow, I should do that too. Like that's the way to help people make that step towards positive change.
That's so beautiful.
Living by example, right? And inspiring others through that. That's so beautiful. What's amazing is that, you are living, like I can tell, you are so in line with your purpose, and it's so beautiful just the way you're, everything you're doing, from all of the different things you're involved with. When you look at your Instagram account, there's so much going on that you're pouring your heart into. And, from somebody that is so in service of others, do you find that there's any moments where, throughout the year or when you travel, do you find a depletion in your energy or your light? And if you do, how, like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you spark it? No, I was just, because I think for us personally, like there are moments in our life when, you're really focused on something and you give so much, and then you get depleted. And we've gone through a couple of burnouts, in the past couple of years, doing too much, because you're just, you're giving, you're serving, you're on purpose, and it feels great, but you have less time to fill up your own cup and to brighten your own light. And so I'm always curious about other people that are very, aligned to their purpose. What are your tactics? How do you protect yourself from that?
You come first, period. So I always think of it as the most important thing that we can do is we can put our air mask on first. The only way that I can truly help someone is from a cup that is first full. So if my cup is half full and I'm trying to pour out, 20% into another cup, that means that now I'm at 30%, Right. So I really have to be coming from a space that is actually overflowing, so that I can actually positively help someone, because that energy is not now taking away from my energy. It's coming from a space of overflowing. So for me personally, in the most tangible way of explaining this is my meditation practice. Every single morning, right now I'm here in Rishikesh, I'm doing a yoga teacher training where we have to be inside this space to practice yoga every single morning at 5:50. And so I wake up at 4:00 and I'm brushing my teeth, I'm taking a nice quick shower, and I'm getting my body warm. I'm sitting, I'm meditating, I'm doing a little journaling, and I'm reading. And I'm giving myself the time to have that self-inquiry before I even set foot in the room and get into practice, because I know that once I am right inside, then I can actually come from a space of balance and equanimous awareness of who I am and what I'm here to do before I even set foot in the studio. And ultimately, that's for everything that I do. I really do my best to make sure that I'm in alignment, so that I can come from a space of knowing that I'm actually going to be able to deliver my best self. And, even just in this opportunity of connecting with you two, like, yesterday just didn't work out because it just wasn't in alignment. Yes. It wasn't something where I could give you my best self. Whereas, today everything worked out perfectly, so that we can actually have this conversation and have it in a way that I can give you something that is able to flow out from me with a sense of ease, rather from a sense of feeling depleted, or like I was tired, or like I didn't have all the necessary resources to be able to give you my full self, my 100% self. So ultimately, I feel that, anytime that I'm feeling, whether it's burnt out, exhausted, tired, I just take time to myself. I live alone in Costa Rica. Like, I literally live alone by myself because I'm out in the world a lot. I'm out teaching. I'm out having the opportunity of, sharing these opportunities for people to dive deeper into themselves. And anytime that I'm giving, I know that I have to go back and I have to receive. And the best way for me to receive is to be alone in nature. And that's honestly why I live alone. That's why I have the opportunity of, being in a space like Costa Rica, where I just set foot in my yard and immediately I'm brought into that space of deep connection with Mother Earth. And I feel that in itself is like filling my cup up. And then I'm like, okay, like Mother Earth is flowing through me, and Father Sun is gracing my skin with this beautiful blessing of light, and I can really go out there and shine fully from my heart. And I feel that when we're aligned to that, like, we have endless energy to give.
Wow. Where in Costa Rica do you live?
I live in Portalon, just north of Dominical and south of Manuel Antonio.
Okay, because we're in Nosara right now, actually, in Costa Rica as well. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I have some good friends that live in Nosara, and my good friend Jimmy lives up there, and he's a wonderful sweetheart, and him and his wife. And yeah, I have a few other friends that live up there, and my friend Ali Cat lives up there, and Justin, a few other friends. So yeah, good people, good vibes. But I mean, South Pacific is my jam. It's a lot less crowded, which means a lot more nature time. And like, I go outside and there's literally sloths in my tree, and like toucans flying from treetop to treetop. And it's quieter. I enjoy the quiet and the peace and the solitude of it.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's super interesting, because when we're here, we often feel the need to leave when we're here for too long, because Nasara has turned into such a circus in a way. Like, it's just, there's so much going on.
Actually, since COVID happened, I think a lot of people started to migrate and move here, and a lot of expats, which is wonderful because it does create that environment for people of like-mindedness. But at the same time, it has definitely boomed. And
it's funny because then we always have to retreat to go back to, like, we have a place in Canada. I don't know if you've ever been to Vancouver Island, but we live in an area of Vancouver Island, which is just like us and a few houses and just forest. It's just like, it's like, and then it's like, that's when it's like, we're alone again. And we can walk out of our door and we go for a walk every single morning to replenish. And we have like our routines that are so deeply entrenched in nature that it just, like you're saying, like, it allows us to maintain the equilibrium necessary to perform throughout the day in whatever it is we're going to do. And then when we come back down here, we're like, we're back in balance. But like places like this, I find they can be so nourishing in so many ways, socially and activity wise, but they can, there's not a lot of peace. And that solitude is so, we're such like
sensitive beings, I guess.
Sensitive beings to the energy, I think.
Yeah, I'm curious, actually, because not to bring it back to India, but I'm super curious about, since, you're very connected to your external environment in that way as well, where you can find peace in nature. How do you find, outside of the beautiful ashram yoga studio that you were in, which kind of looks like an incredible peaceful place, how do you find India outside of it? Because it's pretty hectic, eh? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very bustling place, but you can find solitude anywhere. And really, like, a lot of the beauty of these spaces, especially, I mean, I'm right by the river, and there's tons of magical places here in the Himalayas that are like places that not a lot of people frequent, that are, just like, I feel that you can find peace in nature anywhere that you go. And one of the main reasons that I'm here in India for this trip to Rishikesh is to discover some of those beautiful spaces. There's one spot that I've heard of called the Seven Lakes that I'm going to, which is a space that Swami Vivekananda would often be at. And, I always meet locals as well. That's one of the main things, is to like really learn about the best spaces from the locals, so that you have the opportunity to go to the spaces that are less traveled, that are off the beaten path.
Yeah.
And I feel that that's one of the best ways to get to go to those spaces of solitude, because the locals know them, but you may not actually go to them if you're just looking on Google or TripAdvisor as a tourist.
That's so well said. Actually, we learned that really, really early making videos, because we make our yoga videos in remote locations. We try to have no people in the frame, but the most beautiful spots. So we learned, like, I think in one of our first trips to Indonesia, we would just find a fisherman. Be like,
okay,
can you take us in your boat to the most beautiful place you know? And my God, like it was amazing.
You find the right person.
Yeah, find that right person who's like willing to like, get paid for a day of work to just take you in a boat to some island. Like I remember once we got taken to literally a sandbar. It was just like a sandbar. It wasn't even an island. It was just in the middle of like the Polynesian Sea somewhere.
That was so cool.
We're like, let's shoot some videos here. He's like, really? We're like, you found it. This is fantastic. And it was like, I don't know, what the tide shifted. We might have just washed away. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny.
So how much longer do you have in India right now?
I'll be in India until May 7th as of right now. There's a potential that I may leave later, but the plan is to go from India to Ghana and to meet some fellow chocolatiers. I just actually purchased a 67-acre cacao farm in Costa Rica.
No,
so
really?
I'm currently,
wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Cacao
so
farm. Oh my God. Can we come visit? I love cacao.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Please do.
Oh my God.
Please do. So yeah, I'm going to go meet with another cacao farmer in Ghana, and to also visit my great friend Rocky Dawani, who lives in Ghana as well. He's a magical reggae artist, like absolutely next level. He's magnificent. I've known him since I was 7 years old. My mom used to actually be his backup singer.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm going to go visit him in his homeland, and have the opportunity to go meet some other fellow chocolatiers, and then I'll be heading back to Costa Rica thereafter.
My goodness.
And what is your plan with this farm that you've just purchased? Like, are you going to be growing cacao, or what is the dream with that?
That's we got to jump on another call for that. It's a whole other.
I love it though. That's really beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's the secret of just eating raw cacao fruit to us, when that was unveiled to us, we've been obsessed. We used to actually, I remember when we spent too long in the jungle up in in Guanacaste up here, we'd be like, let's go to Arenal. And for my birthday once, we just went so we could go to a cacao farm, because I was like, I just want
to buy
fruits.
cacao fruits.
And then they were like, how many do you want? We're like, 12. They're like, what? And then they saw us crack them open and just start eating the seeds, and the farmers thought we were crazy. Remember that?
Yeah.
My God, it's my favorite fruit in the world.
That's the way. That's the way. I mean, when you see how purple it is inside, that's just like pure antioxidant bliss right there. That's the magic.
Oh my gosh.
It's so unlikely when you see the fruit. Like, you're like, that's chocolate, and then you pull it out and it's all slimy and goopy, and you're like, and you're gonna eat that? But it's like, for anyone out there that gets a chance, crack one of those babies open. Oh my goodness.
Taste the real, where chocolate really, really starts from, right? Like, that's amazing.
The magic of cacao is the theobromine, and the theobromine is like one of the most incredible entheogens, in the sense that it actually uplifts your energy through a means of opening the heart. It actually brings more blood flow to your heart and to your circulatory system. So it's one of the most incredible plants, cacao, and obviously chocolate. Cacao more so, even because it's not processed. But when you have the opportunity to eat it off the tree, it literally gives you like one of the most euphoric feelings that I've ever had. And I'll tell you more about the cacao farm offline when we have some time to really dive in, because it was literally one of the most synchronistic experiences that I've had. I met the owner through a friend of mine who was part of my meditation sangha with Lama Dorji. who's a meditation monk from Tibet who lives in Costa Rica now. And I went with him to Nepal just in, what was it, in November. And there was a woman who was on this trip, and she just kept saying, like, you have to meet my friend, you have to meet my friend. And when I met her, her husband had just passed away, the friend who had been saying that you have to meet my friend. And she was like, I'm going to sell my farm because my husband passed away, and he was the one who was actually making the chocolate on the farm. And it's just like, it was kind of like it was a very heartbreaking experience for her to be in the space of having lost her husband and to not know what to do with this farm now. And it just so happened that I had a really awesome team of people who I was getting together to work on another project for a retreat center in Costa Rica. And we just shifted to actually now stewarding this land and working on the project there. Wow. And so it's been a really awesome, just a beautiful turn of events. But I feel that the heart-opening nature of this plant, cacao, it was literally the first means of actual commerce. So it was value exchange. It was how people actually used like a sense of economy for the early tribes of Costa Rica. So from the Talamanca Mountains, like that's actually how the tribes would trade, was through cacao. They would trade gold and also seashells and all types of other fabrics and goods for cacao. And that was their means of currency.
Oh.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Unbelievable. Wow.
Heart. It comes back to heart.
I mean, you think about it, like when, you do those cacao ceremonies, that they have a lot of them going on around here as well. And the main reason for that is to get people to to get deeper connected to their hearts, right? Like to feel that vibration within.
Well, what's the difference? Do you know the difference between cooked cacao and raw? Because in the ceremonies, they warm it, they cook it, they make the chocolate out of it. But to me, cacao, the most special experiences I've had with cacao is just eating the raw cacao itself. And I actually prefer that than anything chocolate based.
I like the drink.
Yeah. There's many different ways to ingest it, but I would say the raw is definitely the most potent, in my opinion. Although the fermentation process, if done correctly, can make some of the most incredible chocolate that gives you a really euphoric feel as well. And it has a naturally occurring theobromine, which is similar to caffeine in the sense that it does give you a really uplifting feeling that can also give you a lot of energy, but it's actually not caffeine. So it's a really cool way to be able to replace, like a lot of people drink coffee and then they start drinking raw cacao and then they're like, wow, like I get the same amount of energy, if not more. And it's also because there's a huge amount of antioxidants in cacao, and iron and all types of other phytonutrients that the body needs to be able to perform at its best. So there's many great things that we could talk about cacao. We could have a whole entire podcast on
yes,
just
we
cacao.
should.
It's crazy. Hey?
I'm super fascinated by it because I think it's such a beautiful tool to help people get connected in a deeper way, through a fun way, right? Because everybody can enjoy a cup of cacao, and especially in the ceremonies, you get to just feel the energy and kind of dance, and there's like a really beautiful vibe that comes with it. And I think if we make it more popular and bring it more to the front of awareness to other people that may not have had that experience yet, I think it's a beautiful self-love practice that a lot of people can involve themselves in,
find
right?
deep benefit from.
Yeah.
But I want to bring it back to yoga just for a second, because I find that this entire podcast so far has been very heart-centered. Everything that has been coming from you, all of the energy and the discussions, and it's all really based in like a very, like a deep intention and a purpose, and it seems to sort of originate in the heart. And I'm curious, how did yoga find you? Like, and how did your practice begin?
So I first started practicing yoga when I was 19 years old. I had an ankle injury. I was playing competitive soccer at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo in Central Costa, California. And at the time, I had this ankle injury, and I had a really great friend of mine who was an incredible tennis player. And if you know tennis, like it's, cutting back and forth, it's a lot of ankle mobility. And she was like, hey, like, you should definitely come with me to Bikram yoga. And I was like, oh, yoga's for girls. I don't need to do any yoga. Like, I just stretch before, practice, and I jump on the soccer field and I'm good to go. And she's like, look, like, you're sitting on the bench right now, like, you're injured and your body's only going to atrophy, in a week from now when you get off of the bench and you go back on the field, like, you're going to be not as warm as you were before you were injured. So come with me to Bikram yoga and keep your body moving, keep your muscles going, keep your tendons all lubricated, and, see what it's like. And I'm like, okay, yoga is for girls. Like, I'm definitely not coming. Like, I can stretch at home. She's like, look,
Right.
like, if you come, you may like it. And if you don't like it, you never have to come back again. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. Let me go to Bikram yoga so I can show her how much I don't like it, because at the time I was, a 19-year-old, jock basically. And I was in a fraternity and I was studying microbiology and I was, running around and doing my thing. But at the same time, I was like, wow, like, that does make sense. I might as well just go and try it out one time. And if I don't like it, then I never have to go back. That's a great offer. And so I went to my first ever Bikram yoga class, and I was late, and I basically rushed into the studio, and they immediately were doing this whole,
Right.
this whole thing. And I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on? They put me in the corner right underneath the heater, in front of the mirror. And I was just so immediately like outside of my comfort zone, sweating and looking around at people doing things that I couldn't do. And I was like, I'm 19 years old and I'm supposed to be able to touch my toes. I can't even touch my toes. What is going on, And so immediately I was like challenged, and my ego was just, fully bruised. And I was like, the only way that I'm going to really feel comfortable and confident in myself is to continuously come back to this class until I can touch my toes. And so I made that my goal. And I was like, I'm going to come back to this class every single day until I can touch my toes, because I'm a collegiate athlete. I'm, an incredible, not only an athlete, but also someone who was studying science, body science, microbiology, and I'm like, I should really be able to do these things. And that was the spark that led me into a deep sense of svadhyaya, of self-study. For 100 days it took me until I could touch my toes. And after that 100 days, I realized that not only was I able to touch my toes, but my ball control got better, my grades got better, my relationships got better, my awareness of myself was far more clear. I wasn't drinking anymore, which was a huge milestone, especially for being in the college atmosphere where all my peers were, getting drunk every weekend.
Right.
And I realized that those things just fell off. They weren't serving me anymore. They weren't something that was actually of benefit to my life at that time. And I look back now and I'm like, wow, like just that simple decision to go to a yoga class literally changed my whole trajectory of my life.
Wow.
And from that point forward, I mean, I practice yoga every single day. And I practice yoga every day. Like, people are like, you really practice yoga every day? I'm like, yes. I do at least, whether it's 30 minutes, whether it's 2 hours, wherever I am, no matter if I'm, jumping off of a plane in Dubai or, at my house in Costa Rica. Like, I literally practice yoga every day because I would say it saved my life. It brought me from a space where I was not really clear on where I was going or why I was going that way. And now I have the opportunity of truly sharing from a space of full-hearted awareness of who I am and what I'm here to do.
Wow. What a beautiful story.
That's amazing. I love that yoga it finds what you think you need to show you always what you really need. Like, and it's usually, I find a lot of stories begin with the injury. Both of ours began with
resistance
an injury. And resistance,
right?
lot of
There's
resistance.
like this resistance, and it's like, oh, that's not for me, because you have this idea just from the external view of like what it is, but it's not until you actually are thrown into it to understand what it really is, the real truth of yoga, right? It's not just about touching your toes. It's just so much more. But it begins for so many people, for both of us as well. It began that way. How can I heal my physical self? And then you go on that journey, and then you go deep to heal much
you
more
heal
than
the
just the
things you need.
physical self.
You heal the things you need to heal outside of that which you which you showed up for. And it's interesting, especially the preconception of, like, there's one thing to have a preconception of yoga, but as men looking at yoga from the outside in, like you said, like in your story twice, it's like yoga's for girls. Like it's such a it's such an interesting phenomenon that yoga started with men in India and how now has been converted in the West to be like, no, like men are like almost like friends of mine that see what I do with my life. Like you see them like what? You do what now? Like this, like it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute. How do you face that to help encourage more men to get involved with the practice of yoga?
I do my best to make it accessible for everyone, whether it's, men, women, children. I've taught, a multitude of children's yoga classes. I've taught some broga classes back in the day when I was still in the fraternity. I've also had the opportunity of teaching for Black Boys Om, which is a collective of African American men who are yoga practitioners as well. And I really just do my best to share yoga wherever it's accepted, wherever people are open-minded enough to be able to practice this absolutely life transformative practice of self-study. It really just brings me back to the awareness that, like, we're all humans. We all have bodies. If we all have bodies, then what better way to utilize our bodies than to breathe more consciousness into our bodies? Because it's only going to help to uplift our frequency, to uplift our deeper sense of connectivity to that which is our lifeline, which is our breath. And so ultimately, my goal is really to just make it accessible to everyone, and to let people know that, even if you're a vegan bodybuilder like my buddy Nimai, we did a whole entire retreat together. He owns a company called Vegan Fitness, where he's, teaching people how to build more muscle. And I'm like, come on, man, let's do some yoga. Let's get some yoga going. And then we did this incredible retreat together. And ever since then, he's been practicing yoga. And so, it's just a matter of, putting it in people's field and letting them know that all it takes is an open mind to allow your heart to fully shine.
That's so beautiful. Wow. And so what's coming up next for you? I know you mentioned you're going to Ghana, then Costa Rica, but are there any exciting things coming up that perhaps people can become involved with or practice with you in the near future?
Yeah, definitely. So first thing that is on the list is I actually have a wonderful app that's called Certified. It's certified and it's incredible. Certified with a Y, because, yoga.
Right, yeah.
And it's a really awesome app that allows people to be able to tap into getting their certification online directly through an application that offers all of the classes that you would need for your 200-hour yoga teacher certification. There's also going to be other certifications through Pilates and through all types of other modalities of healing, acupuncture, breath work, meditation as well. And we're working with some really awesome, not only practitioners, but also organizations to get as many different types of certifications that are in the health and wellness sphere to help with just mental health these days, because it's really interesting how much time people spend on these devices. And now to offer them a means of deepening their practice on the device where they can actually learn to do something that is not only going to help them, but also can help them share it with others. Certified with a Y, check it out. I'm going to be having a 200-hour yoga teacher certification that is offered on there very soon. And then in July, I'm leading an incredible retreat alongside Lama Dorji, who is the Tibetan monk that I went to Nepal with. He's absolutely incredible, one of the most potent meditation monks that I've ever met in my life. He's next level. And we're leading a retreat in Chiripo alongside some other really beautiful wisdom keepers from Costa Rica, including India, Maya, who is from the Bribri tribe in Costa Rica, and she's one of the most incredible cacao ceremony leaders that I've ever had the opportunity of experiencing cacao with. So that's going to be in the end of July in Chiripo Mountains in Costa Rica. So I would say those two are the most potent things that are at the front of my mind to share with you all.
That's amazing.
That's so beautiful.
We'll definitely link everything in the show notes here, so for people listening, they can go and check it out and hopefully sign up. But that sounds like a beautiful experience. I wish we could join. I mean, we're not going to be around here in July, but next one you have, I'd love to.
Yeah, that sounds so incredible.
Participate, because that sounds very, very beautiful and magical, and just to be in the space of Costa Rica and the energy of this land, but at the same time diving deeper with the practices of meditations, and cacao.
It goes back to the intentional travel that we mentioned at the very beginning, and I think for anyone listening and that thinks they need to get away from where they are for a bit, I think doing it with intention and purpose to retreats like this are such an amazing way to go, and not just sever from that which you need to be severed from to find yourself again, but to consciously work on making yourself, giving yourself the healing and the nourishment that you deserve, because we all deserve it, and we just have to admit it to ourselves and take the big step. So anyone listening, that sounds, if I could, I would be
I know,
there
me too.
100%.
That sounds amazing. I'd love to join. But anyways.
But Andrew, thank you.
Yeah, it's been such an incredible hour to spend with you. Thank you so much. A joy to meet you finally.
It's amazing what a quick DM can do. Pull together just like one of the most nourishing hours of so long that we've had. This is, I don't know.
So wonderful to get to know you a little bit more. And I hope we can meet in person. I mean, next time, we're both in Costa Rica at the same time.
Yes.
I'd love to connect.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Definitely. I would love to take you both to the cacao farm so that we can eat some fresh cacao and have some quality time, jumping in the river, and just vibe out and enjoy some yoga together.
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, and enjoy the rest of your training.
Yes, enjoy India, and I hope it's expansive and everything that you're searching for. It's incredible. So best of luck with your training, and hopefully we can connect in the near future.
Amazing. Namaste.
Definitely. May we continue to flow, and may our paths continue to intertwine and uplift the hearts and the minds of many. Blessings and namaste.
Okay.